women's desire is a little bit more complex. Hey guys, and welcome back to another episode of Let's Wine About It. If you're new here, my name is Elise, and on my channel, we talk all things wine and all things that make you want to grab a glass of wine. And today's video is no different. Valentine's Day is right around the corner, and it had me thinking about a topic I've been wanting to talk about for a while, and I figured what better time to talk about it right before Valentine's Day, when people are probably really thinking about how to connect with their partner. So I've been thinking about talking about bridging the gap between what women want to increase intimacy for them versus what men want. Now, I can't speak for men because I am not one. So I figured that I would focus this video on what women want in order to increase desire and intimacy. So fellas, if you're listening, pay attention. I did want to keep this very brief and really kind of narrow it down into 3 tips to increase intimacy with women. Also, I think it's important to state that I am not speaking for every single woman. These are general tips on how to increase your intimacy with your woman. Also, ladies, if I am missing something, please make sure to comment in the comment section what other tips that men can use to increase their intimacy with their woman. Again, I'm gonna keep it down to 3, but definitely share your thoughts. All right, so let's get into it. Number 1, unlike our counterparts, women's desire is a little bit more complex. It requires an alignment of our emotional and mental mood with our physical mood. In fact, a recent study revealed that 85% of women emphasize the importance of a deep emotional connection for a fulfilling intimate life. In fact, the National Institution of Medicine also reported women's sexual desire is more likely to emerge when there is an emotional connection. Let me repeat that. Women's sexual desire is more likely to emerge
when there is an emotional connection.
So can we be physical without an emotional connection? Absolutely. It is more likely for that to happen if we feel some kind of emotional connection to our partner. It also stated from a study conducted on heterosexual relationships between the ages of 19 and 35 who were living in a romantic partnership, it stated that sexual activity and sexual satisfaction decreased the longer they were in the relationship. However, sexual desire was only found to diminish in the women, while the desire for tenderness and emotional connection decreased in the men, whereas it became even more profound in the woman or women. So let's break that down. Essentially, the longer the relationship, so if you're in a long-term relationship, this study has found that sexual satisfaction and activity decreases across the board between men and women. Satisfaction and activity decrease. However, the desire for sex does not decrease with men. It does, in fact, decrease with women. What does decrease with men is the need for emotional connection with their partner, while that does increase with women. So they are like juxtaposed. It highlights that the emotion is very much so connected to the physical for women. Now, typically what happens is it's kind of accepted that sexual activity sustains a marriage, and so a lot of times there's like guilt that women have when their desire for sex is non-existent. But women often find themselves still trying to participate in sexual activities, and if they're not feeling guilty about it, because it is a part of our culture how sexual activity can help a marriage or break a marriage. What's not talked about is that in order to have a healthy sex life between partners, both people have to put in effort. For men, they don't need that emotional connection to still have that sexual desire. So the effort that has to be made to maintain that intimacy in the relationship is really on the woman. We have to learn how to quiet our desires, which is emotional connection, to satisfy the man's physical desire, as opposed to saying, hey, I need physical connection, I need emotional connection. Let's both provide this to one another. In fact, if you provide the emotional connection, I will more willingly meet you where you are with the desire for the physical. So I hope that makes sense. It needs to be both people recognizing what the other needs in order to have intimacy in the relationship. And I think the emotional needs are often looked at as less than or less important than the physical. You know, you got to please your man. Don't please him physically, he's going to step out. But we also need to have a healthy conversation about pleasing the woman emotionally so that we can give freely physically. Another key element for women's sexual desire is security. Feeling secure in a relationship is paramount to increasing a woman's sexual desire and satisfaction. A staggering 92% of women admitted a sense of security enhances their desire for their partner. I know that a lot of men feel like security is tied to their ability to provide financially. And yes, financial security is huge, but there are also levels of security within a relationship that you can tap into and that you should be tapping into in addition to financial security. So obviously tough times happen for everyone, and a man may find himself in a position where he is not the breadwinner. I think it's common knowledge for men that women desire to feel secure. That then starts to affect their self-esteem when they're unable to provide financially, right? And which causes them to then withdraw from the relationship. In fact, if a woman feels secure in any other area, that can oftentimes overpowers the insecurity of the financial situation. For example, if you and your partner have a relationship with God and you step up in that department, if you are prayerful, if you are supporting your wife spiritually, if you are actively feeding your spirituality and guiding the household in that way, that can provide security, especially during financial struggles. And I say that because it shows the woman that you're not in this financial struggle alone, that you're also relying on something that is bigger than you to help guide you. It is a show of strength if you're in a partnership where spirituality is a part of your relationship.
Editing Elise here. Okay, so my audio went completely out at this point, but basically what I'm saying is security comes in more than just financial security. Number one, there's emotional support, which we talked about a little bit in the beginning. So actively listening, are you engaged in her interests? Do you know what's going on in her life? Can she trust you with her fears and desires? Being emotionally supported. Then there's respect and appreciation. So just acknowledging her, valuing her, and expressing that gratitude contributes to a sense of security. And then the number one biggest thing in security for women is consistency and reliability. So being dependable and keeping promises, showing up consistently are crucial. So I say all that to say, yes, financial security is huge, but all these other elements can create an environment where your woman can feel secure and more vulnerable to be intimate with you regularly.
Last but certainly not least, women love the anticipation of it, okay? It's about the journey and not the destination, 1,000%.
Ain't about how fast I get there. Ain't about what's waiting on the other side. It's the climb.
78% of women say that that anticipation is a huge turn on and crucial for sexual satisfaction. Okay, we're talking about foreplay. Foreplay is one of the biggest contributors to a woman's desire and sexual satisfaction. And foreplay doesn't have to always be about like the 10, 15, 20 minutes before the main event. It can start from the beginning of the day. It's all about creating anticipation and creating the feeling of desire. I cannot emphasize enough how important feeling desired is for a woman to get in the mood for intimacy and connecting physically. Like, feeling desired is the biggest turn on. And I think that may apply to men as well. I think feeling desired is something everybody wants, but maybe for men, it's not always necessary, and that just the attraction physically, it can get them going. For women, feeling attractive, feeling desired is so much, it's so important. If you don't feel sexy, I don't know how many times have you heard a woman say, I feel gross, or I feel blood, I feel bloated, and that prevents them from being in the mood. It is because if a woman does not feel desired, it's hard for her to get in the headspace of being sexually intimate. So her partner can play a huge part in helping her get there. And it takes very little effort. Like, I feel like I want to emphasize, yes, women's road to intimacy and sexual satisfaction is more complex than men, but it's also not super difficult. It can be a flirtatious text at the beginning of the day. It could be rubbing on her shoulders or her leg or wherever her spot, maybe her ear or her hand, like while you watch TV. Just any kind of physical touch, making her laugh, kissing on her neck. All these things can create an environment and a feeling of anticipation, desire, aka foreplay. All these kind of intertwine with each other too. It's connecting emotionally creates a feeling of reassurance and security, and then doing little things to reinforce that throughout the day create anticipation and desire. And those are my 3 tips for creating intimacy and building desire with your woman. Now, I'm sure that there's a million other things. If you think of something that I missed that is super important, drop it down in the comments. Men, you can also hop into the comments. What does it take to get you going? I got a feeling that it's not going to be as layered or complex as women, but I think it's really important that we don't compare and contrast men and women as good or bad or easier, harder, lesser, greater than, and just acknowledge that men and women are different, and there are going to be things that affect us differently, emotionally, physically, mentally, right? And then just embrace that and learn how to meet each other where we are so that we can cohabitate and be in healthy relationships and fulfilling relationships that provide satisfaction for both people involved. Okay, that is it. Thank you guys for tuning in and watching. And if you are into Valentine's Day, happy Valentine's Day. Also, happy Black History Month.
Proud White History.